My chosen name is Milo. I was born as Katerina. I grew up in New Windsor. I was born in Poughkeepsie at Vassar College, and I have lived here in this house my entire life. It's really funny when I think about it when I came to the conclusion that I am trans, because it explained so much that happened. I started to realize that something was kind of different about me because I was very anxious all the time, and I always felt like there was something wrong, and I didn't really know what. Like, I didn't like the way my chest looked, so I started wearing sports bras to kind of flatten it out more, and I actually chopped all of my hair off. It was rib cage level, and then I just chopped it all off. It was the first kind of crisis that I had, but something still didn't really feel right. When I went to college, I was surrounded by suddenly just a sea of queer people. You know, my friend who is a lesbian, she was like, maybe you're gay, and I was like, that makes sense. Yeah, let's try and explore that. And so I started experimenting with gender. I started talking to a lot of trans men on Twitter and gender fluid people on Twitter, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm gender fluid because sometimes I like to be a girl and sometimes I like to be a boy because I still like makeup and I still like heels and things, so I can't be a boy if I like that. That kind of led to me experimenting more with binding, and I bought my first chest binder, I'd say back in 2014 and 2015. I remember the first time I put it on, I took a picture and I just loved the way that I looked. I was so excited. As my life kind of progressed more and more, I kind of just started to get very scared. I always saw all these horrible things about trans people being murdered or stereotyped or the joke or and everything in the media, and I'd never really wanted to accept that that could be me, especially since I grew up in a household where, you know, at first my mom wasn't very accepting of my sexuality, saying I was too young for that, and she was just, you know, scared of me. Got into a huge fight, and then my father, who was constantly making homophobic and transphobic jokes, and I never really felt safe. So my initial thing to do with that was hide and stuff it down, and eventually it, you know, kind of broke, and I tried to take my life over it. I was constantly fighting my parents, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, if I tell them anything, it's going to make the situation worse, so I'm better off not being here. All I really remember is going onto the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, driving across. I don't remember going through a toll booth. It was such in and out. I just remember feeling like I was in a cafeteria and everybody was just yelling. I blacked out again and somehow ended up in the parking lot of Cornwall Hospital. And I remember just having my phone in my hand and freaking out, and just suddenly it hit me what I just attempted to do. Even though I didn't even get out of my car or even walk onto the bridge, that was the closest I had ever come to it. After I got out, I wasn't myself for a very long time. And luckily, I'm very privileged that I have the support system that I did. I had very, very supportive friends that helped me get myself together enough where I could start working on myself and then working on a relationship with my parents. My mom and I, we mended our relationship, which was completely broken in my own opinion, where now I was able to not even tell her that I was trans. She asked me if I was trans, and we talked about it, and, you know, going from you know, coming out to her as bisexual or gay at the time or whatever I came out to her as, and her going, you're too young not to make that decision, how dare you, to, okay, you're trans, I'll work on it, you know, and asking me questions about it. And her, instead of crying over me being trans, she cried because she was scared for me. My whole journey with my dad has been stalled. He was never confronted with anything queer, and when he was, his initial reaction was to banish it. In the hospital, when I told him I was gay, I was like, how do you feel about that? He's like, I could work on the whole gay thing, just give me time. And that never really happened. And, you know, the first night I came out of the hospital, we're having dinner together at the table, and what made me so scared of him and to tell him that I was trans was the first comment he makes to me out of the hospital after a suicide attempt over my sexuality was, I could work on the whole gay thing, but you better not be one of those transsexuals. He never questioned anything. He never wanted to know, because he was kind of, from what I took from it, too scared to admit what was going on. And I explained everything to him. He cried a lot. He drank. You know, it was stressful, more so for him. It's strange. It's very new for the both of us because we haven't really had a relationship in years, despite him always being around. But now we're kind of starting to like get to know each other again. Now it's a journey that I'm pleasantly surprised to have his support with. After I had a little stint in the hospital and I got out of there, I made a decision to myself where I'm like, okay, I can either just ignore this and die, or I can go through this process, figure out who I am, and force myself to get better. And it wasn't until I actually went to my first drag show in New Paltz that I saw these drag queens and effeminate gay men who were wearing makeup and who were wearing heels and everything, but were still men. I was like, oh, if they can do that, why can't I? I didn't know drag kings like existed. I always thought it was just drag queens. And that opened the door to it. My drag persona is, his name is Show Pony. He's cryptic, he's creepy, he's this kind of gender fuckery performance. I've learned so much not only about myself, but just like from other experiences through them. So when I started going out more as Show Pony and performing and getting to kind of get out anxieties and issues that I was having that I couldn't really talk about, but use it drag as like another arm and extension for myself, it really helped. Just kind of, it helped me like work through things that I was going through and kind of like sort out the thoughts that I was having. It's a hobby, it's a job, but it's, at the end of the day, I really enjoy it, and it's kind of something that I feel like I've always been like kind of meant to do. Like I've always meant to do drag. I just kind of needed to be pointed in the right direction, have a little kick in the butt to do it. I started T, it's going on 4 months now I started T. I started back in October, and it's been surprisingly easy for me. It's been really fun to see the changes that have happened with my voice, facial hair, body fat redistribution, which I didn't even know was a thing. It's really nice to see the confidence boost it's given me, and along with everything else that it's given me. So I'm planning on getting top surgery, I think next year. I have my first consultation in March 2020. The waiting list for this woman is very long, but it's because she's one of the best, so I'm very excited for that. If I could like give myself a message, you know, and talk to myself in the past, you know, as I am now, I would tell myself to relax, stop focusing on what other people think about you, and you don't need to conform to other people's expectations of you. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to feel bad and have bad days, and you're not a weak person. You deserve to be happy, and you deserve to declare that. It's not a selfish statement for you to kind of take back what's always meant to be yours.